Hey there. So my next guest is a nurse, but she decided to start streaming only a couple months ago and has been having fantastic success. So she's here. She's going to tell us about what her life is like, going to school, being a nurse, and being a streamer on top of it. And it's an incredible journey that she's gone through because she has a purpose. I haven't met a lot of people who have a purpose on their streams, but she definitely has a very clear and definite purpose that she's advocating for. So I know you all are going to love this one. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Brooke Pearson. Hey there, Brooke. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
It's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
It's starting to get rainy here. We're slowly cooling down in Illinois.
Okay. I lived up in Ohio for a little while, so not too far from Illinois.
Yeah, I live right at the border of Illinois and Wisconsin, so I get that horrible Midwest weather every year.
Oh,
it was in the 80s last week, and we're dropping down to the 40s for Thanksgiving. Fun time.
Oh, wonderful. Well, at least you might have a white Christmas. At least you'll have that.
Last year we had a white Halloween and a green Christmas. This year we had a green Halloween, so we're hoping we're going to get a white Christmas for once.
All right. Now, Brooke, I like getting the show started, getting right into it. So why don't you begin just by telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
So honestly, there's not much. I'm 20 years old. I'm a full-time student, full-time worker, and I do streaming. I don't like having free time, as you can tell. I'm going to school for nursing. So currently I'm actually finishing up my last couple of prereqs I had to take to get into nursing school. And I'm hoping to get into nursing school like next fall. And I'm actually taking some of the more difficult classes right now, so I'm a little stressed out. And I also work full-time in a hospital as a CNA. So in reality, I help get people to the bathroom all day long, and I help work vents and stuff. But I'm in a neurotrauma burn ICU, so I get to see like a lot of cool stuff every day, which going into the nursing field definitely helps me out completely. And then I stream. I've been streaming for about 4 or 5 months now. I started back in June, and it's November now. And so in about the 4 or 5 months I've been streaming, I've almost hit 2K, which I find is pretty fascinating. I know I found it pretty fascinating, but either way, I'm honestly just streaming to get to know people. I'm a really big mental health advocate. I've struggled with mental health myself for many years. And I just like to get everything out there and let people know that it's okay not to be okay.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about.
Beautiful.
But before we do that,
okay.
I ask every guest a single question. So I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you?
I'm like an 11.
Why is
like
that?
I'm a quirky person. It's not like a bad weird. I'm a weird person. Like I've always grown up weird. I've grown up just being quirky and dorky and not really giving a dang what everyone else thinks about me. I'm a swearer, so I'm trying not to swear.
I appreciate that.
Of course. I just kind of grew up not really caring what people thought about me. On the same aspect, I grew up caring about what people cared about me because of my depression and my anxiety. But at the same point, I was like, you know what? I don't care. And so I just kind of I embrace myself, and my inner self is bubbly and strange. And I will sit there and argue with myself, and I'll somehow lose the debate against myself. A lot of times, actually. But I just have a personality where I really don't care. When I was younger, my mom used to call me a squirrel on crack because just the fact I bounced everywhere, and I still do. I mean, I'm 20 years old and I still bounce everywhere. So it works out. I mean, if I had to stay in the range, I'm a 10, but I feel like I'm 11.
I love it. So when I first met my wife, like the very first date we had, she told me that she's a flea brain. I'm like, that's a little interesting. She's like, oh no, I just dink like everywhere. Dink.
That's how my girlfriend explains me. We'll be sitting there talking, and out of nowhere, I'll be jumping to the next subject. She's like, we're not even done with the first one. I'm like, yeah, but I want to talk about this one before I forget what I want to say. And she's like, oh, okay. She's like, at this point, she just learned to let me talk, and she learns to zone me out because I'll sit there and talk about nonsense the entire time. But then she knows she has to listen in at key points, or else I'll get mad at her for not listening. She'll be like, I don't want to listen to your 30 minutes, your 30-minute spiel about everything. I'm like, okay, I don't care. You're going to listen.
Wonderful.
Listen to me.
All right. So Brooke, this is the Gamerpreneur podcast. So I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
So I first started playing video games when I was 10 or 11. I started off on Xbox 360. Funny thing is I actually thought video games were the stupidest thing at first. My brother and I had got the Xbox 360 for Christmas, and my brother was the one that started off playing the first person shooter game. So at that point it was Modern Warfare 2, I think, is the newest one that had come out. And I watched him play it and I thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. I had no clue why people enjoyed the game. I was like, it looked stupid to me. It looked like, it didn't make sense how to play. And then my brother was like, just sit down and play it. And I was like, no, I wanted to stick to my Just Dance and my Wii Fit and just stick with that. But then one day he got me down playing and I fell in love with it. I mean, I sucked at first, but I fell in love with it. And as the games grew up, my favorite Call of Duty was Call of Duty Ghost. A lot of people have iffy views on that. Not a lot of people liked it, but preferably I loved it. It's the one video game that really got me into gaming. I met all my best friends from gaming on there that I started up with when I was 14, 15 years old. I started actually getting involved with the first person shooter games. I started really liking Call of Duty. I went to Black Ops 2, Black Ops, and then I kind of stopped playing Call of Duty when I hit Infinite Warfare. I'm not an Infinite Warfare fan. I don't like Advanced Warfare. I just personally don't like it.
But Call of Duty in space.
Oh, I found it so ridiculous. So I didn't like playing it. And at that point I was kind of I stuck with my Ghost, even though everyone moved on to the newer games. I kind of stuck with the games I knew because I liked them. And I was getting at the point where I was getting really good at the games. I was getting good at Call of Duty in general. When I was younger, all I liked playing was Sticks and Stones and gun games. But then as I kind of grew up a bit, I went into, Search and Rescue, Search and Destroy, Team Deathmatch. And then I got introduced to Fortnite right when I started dating my girlfriend. And now I'm sadly addicted to the game. It irritates the heck out of my soul. But it's one of those games where it's once you start playing it, you don't want to stop. And it's so frustrating. But yeah, so I've been playing now for about 10 years.
Okay, wonderful.
I had the same gamer tag I just changed my gamer tag when I started streaming. I'd had that first gamer tag since I practically began playing video games. So I'm really attached to stupid things. It was really hard for me to detach from that gamer tag because I had so many memories on it.
Okay. And you play Fortnite, anything else today?
Currently, I was kind of getting into Apex, and I kind of got into Warzone, and then Warzone got full of a lot of hackers, and I wasn't a fan of it. Fortnite's full of a bunch of hackers too, though, so it's it's a lose-lose. But lately, there's a few new games that came out that I really want to try. I just don't have the money to get them yet. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm a big, Viking era is a big thing for me, and I like it a lot, so I definitely want to try that game. I want to try Cold War. For my girlfriend, she said it wasn't, a great game, but I'm not going to listen to her input because she's a sniper and she thinks everything's stupid when people are killing her that aren't snipers. So I want to look at that, especially for the zombies, because I was a huge fan of zombies. And then Cyberpunk 2077 when it was supposed to come out, except it got delayed again. So I'm
don't worry,
waiting on that
it'll be another 67 years till it comes out in 2077.
Probably. And then it's not a newer game, but obviously I want to try Skyrim at some point. I've never played it before, even though it's a bit of an older game. I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, so I honestly think I would like it. And then the last one I'm kind of want to get into is it came out a couple months ago, I believe. It's called Cloudpunk. It's I don't know how to explain it. It kind of looks like Cyberpunk almost, but it's called Cloudpunk, and it's based in a futuristic world where you're solving story modes and everything like that, which I'm interested in that, and I kind of want to break away from the third party battle royale. But at the same point, I want to keep battle royales. But at the same point, I have detachment issues, so it's dang, I want to keep playing this game and I can't.
Okay. One more kind of straight gaming related question, then we'll get into the rest of you.
Yeah.
Desert Island. If I dropped you on a desert island with one game for the rest of your life, power cable and an Ethernet cable, so you can play online if necessary, what is that one game?
Oh, that's a good one. Part of me wants to get all nostalgic and say all these old games I used to play, like the Simpsons game and Ratatouille and stuff like that. But at the same point,
Which
would I get it?
Game? The Hit and Run?
So
that
not the
one?
I've never played the Hit and Run. This one was it was actually called the Simpsons game. And it was you played as the characters solving these quests and stuff. And so like one of them is like Bart became Batman, and you ran around as like Bart, like Batman, Bartman, yeah. And like I don't know how to explain it. Like no one seems to remember it except me. I played it on the Wii a lot when we first got the Wii. But I don't know. It's like it's really hard to explain the game. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like it's such a vivid memory of my childhood. And I'm almost debating buying an Xbox 360 just to play it again. But my girlfriend says it's a waste of money. But again, we're not listening to her input at this point. I'm like, I don't care. But if not that, it would probably be Call of Duty Ghosts, just so I could honestly, I could play that. That game didn't get me as mad as any of the games I play nowadays. And it was such an era where I had fun with it and I was talking with people. Now, okay, the real question is, can I talk with people while I have a headset?
Oh, well, I'm giving you Ethernet, so sure.
Okay, yeah. So if I have a headset, I can sit there and talk with people. I will totally do Call of Duty Ghosts hands down. I'll just enjoy it. I'll play the campaign over and over again. I'll live my life with that one.
All right. I love it. Okay. So let's get over to the other side, the preneur part. What made you decide to one, become a streamer, and then two, become a nurse?
So a streamer, it kind of happened really quick. Like I said, I've always loved playing video games, but I never honestly thought about the streaming aspect. I didn't really think it was a logical choice. I was just like, I didn't really see any benefits or stuff into streaming. And then I started watching the videos about like, Ninja and Jack and Tim the Tatman and, all the big streamers, and about like generally what their life is as a streamer. I was like, that's kind of cool, because I love entertaining people. I love talking with people. I love helping people in general. So I was like, when I started thinking about that, I was like, streaming would be a pretty good choice for me, because I could sit there and communicate with all these people. And then of course my girlfriend kind of pushed me a bit of the way too, because she said, Brooke, you got the personality for it. You can do it. Like, it's not like, you're quiet or something. It's not like you don't like doing it. Like, she's like, you're going to sit there and talk their ears off no matter what. I'm like, well, you're not wrong. So I started doing that, and I got my PC back in June. And when I started streaming, I absolutely loved it. Like, even as I watched my numbers grow and I was like, oh my God, people actually like watching me. I was like, it was like a shock and awe factor. I was like, oh my God, I'm not annoying. I was like, wow, what is this? And then being a nurse wasn't always my first choice. I was actually in a tie between being in the medical field and being in the criminal justice field. I'm a really I'm a really big learner for forensics. In high school, I was on a team called Science Olympiad, which is practically a team that studies to take these tests at competitions, and then we get awards depending on the grade we got on the test. And if that doesn't describe of how much a nerd I was in high school, then I don't know what does. But I was in an event called Forensics, and we sat there and we learned about the chemical reaction, and we learned about, motives for murder and stuff like that. I found it completely interesting. I was so like awed by it. But at the same point, when I started looking more into the field, I was like, that's not something I completely wanted to do. When they first started off making money and stuff, I was really iffy about it. And then with the nurses, my entire family is in the medical field. My mom's a paramedic. My grandma was a nurse. My aunt's a nurse. My dad was a firefighter. So it was like everyone is in the medical field. And we have this saying in my family that if you like the smell of a hospital, you're supposed to work in it. It's a weird saying, but they're like, if you like the smell of stuff like that, and you're not going to be grossed out in the hospital, it's not going to be overwhelming for you, I guess is how they thought of it. I don't know the meaning behind it, but it was our meaning, and it made sense because I do like the smell of a hospital. And okay. Then the more my mom started to teach me about like medical terminology and about health stuff. I mean, I've been CPR certified since I was like 10 years old. And my mom's taught me all this stuff I probably didn't need to know yet, but she taught me it because, she likes teaching. And I was like, I want to do this. I like doing this. I like helping people out. I like the communicative aspect of nursing. I don't like the customer service aspect. Oh, I don't know what part I'm trying to say. Aspect. I don't like the customer service aspect of it, but at the same point, that's probably from my 5 years of working in retail. You get a little tired of customer service at one point or another, but It's something I can work past because I get to sit there and help people, and I get to learn all this stuff.
I absolutely agree. I used to do customer service in retail, and I would always joke with other people, that if we should just do away with prisons and force everybody to do customer service for a year. And after that, they become out wonderful people who are always smiling.
Oh yeah. It's like I can go from my customer service voice to my normal voice in like a matter of minutes. And my mom's heard me do it before and she's like, that's not normal. I'm like, that's what you get when you worked in retail for a year and then you were a manager in fast food for 4 years. Like that's what happens, sadly. I'll be nice as I can be to a customer and I'll turn around to my employees and be like, I don't want to ever deal with that again. Never. And they'll be like, okay, she's not bubbly all the time. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Okay, Brooke, what is life like in the medical profession? I know you're still fairly newish to it, but how's that going?
I personally like it. So working, before I started working in the hospital, I worked at a nursing home. And for me, I like the hospital style better. I wasn't a big fan of the nursing home. Don't get me wrong. I loved the residents and everything, but just the nursing home work wasn't for me. I didn't really get to learn that much. And in the hospital, I see a lot more. And so for me, I would work 3/12s a week, which I love having 4 days off. It makes it really easy to balance my streaming life and balance my school life. Sadly, right now with COVID going on, I have to work mandated overtime. But with the mandated overtime, we're getting an extra $5 an hour. So it's kind of like a little incentive for working it, which with that being said, I've been picking up an extra shift a week, not an entire 12. I've been picking up like an 8 or a 4 hour a week. But, it's bringing in the extra money. It's helping out for Christmas, helping out for school. So I can't complain. And so far, I really do like it. I'm afraid I'm going to get burned out by working so much, especially right now in the middle of a pandemic. We're seeing a lot of nurses that are being burned out and everything. But I'm kind of hoping once I become a nurse, the pandemic will be over. I mean, that's 2 years away. One can hope, but you never know. But so far, I do like it. I find it a very rewarding field when you see people coming back that you helped in the ICU months ago, coming back and walking, and they left not being able to walk.
Sure. Okay. So, Brooke, part of the purpose of my show is that I'm hoping my audience will be watching these interviews and maybe somebody somewhere sees you and goes, you know what, her story sounds fantastic. Maybe I want to be a nurse as well. Mm-hmm. What steps should somebody take to begin that journey?
Personally, so for me, my first step I took was finding a job in the medical field. In Illinois, you have to have a CNA license. I don't know in other states if you have to have a CNA license or not. But for me, it took me like 6 weeks to get my license. And my first step was to work in the medical field and see if it's actually something I wanted to do the rest of my life. Because you don't want to go to nursing school and pay, 10, 20, 30 grand for nursing school and then go into the field and realize you don't like it. Because it's like, you might think you like it in clinicals, but when you're actually on the floor and you're seeing what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, you might not like it because it's not always just, passing meds, doing all this exciting stuff you see on TV. It's taking people to the bathroom. It's getting people cleaned up. It's, all this stuff that they don't showcase on TV. And so I definitely would recommend the first step is get a job in the medical field so you can see what it's like. Because if you don't see what you like, you're going to walk in blind.
Sure. Now, personality wise, is there like a particular personality type that does better?
I personally don't think so. I mean, in my case, obviously I'm more of an extrovert, at least when it comes to work and talking to people. I'm more of an extrovert, and obviously that does help with your customer service skills and, your people pleasing skills. You're able to have more of those conversations. And I have seen some nurses who are introverted who do really well. And it's like, they're shy to everyone, but as soon as they go around their patients, they're like a brand new person. So I personally don't think it really matters on the personality. I think, though, that it does matters on how you express yourself to your patients.
Okay, wonderful. Now I want to talk about your stream. How did you grow so fast? Because you saw my shock. You did 2,000 people in like a couple months. How'd you do it?
I really don't know. My girlfriend and I were talking about it, and when she was like, I was like, I've only hit 2,000, and she's like, Brooke, that's a big deal. And I didn't really realize what she meant by like it was a big deal. And she's like, not many streamers can hit that amount of follower base in so long. And I think a lot of that happened is the fact that when I started streaming when all the new Mixer partners were coming over too. So Facebook's algorithm was really, really good for me at that moment. Lately, my growth has slowed down tremendously, which I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I'm still bringing in new people by, I think I'm literally like 20 follows away from 1.8K. So I'm almost at 2K, not there almost, but I'm almost at 2K. But I had hit 1.5K 3 months into streaming. So it was like, I was roughly gaining 500 a month. And I was like, I didn't see what the big deal was, what my girlfriend did. She's like, no, Brooke, that's a big deal. I'm like, oh, if you say so. Okay. But I can't keep saying my girlfriend, but we personally think it's because of my personality is what we kind of think drew people in, because I was always sitting there talking. I was always talking to chat. And I just kept talking. I didn't stop talking. I mean, my throat would be dry by the end of streams because of how much I talked.
Certainly. I was going to ask you what makes you different, but it sounds like you have no idea.
No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, the only thing I could come up with is the fact of I'm not like, I don't have a filter, and I just talk about what people want to talk. The only other thing I could really think of is maybe possibly how big of a mental health advocate I am. I mean, I see other streams saying they have a mental health advocate, but it's like, they say they're an advocate, but they don't really address it, which that's not their fault at all. Some people just show their respect towards other things differently. For me, it was like when I hit 1K, I did a 24-hour mental health charity stream, and all the donations I made went to the Mental Health Suicide Awareness Organization, because that's a really big thing in my heart. And I mean, I try all the time. I'm always checking on my followers' mental health. I'm always checking on how they're doing. I'm always trying to get them to talk with me, especially if, there's something wrong. And I probably shouldn't be doing that, because if I ever do get big, that's going to be hard to check on all, like, I don't know, say like 30,000 people if that ever happened. But at the same point, I want them to know that I care about them, and I want them to know that it's like, I'm there for them. Certainly. Like, I want them to have someone.
Okay. Are you doing any type of marketing? Before we went live, you mentioned you were editing TikTok videos. So are you promoting yourself on social media?
So actually, no. I mean, I posted a couple TikTok videos, but it's like they got a total of like 300-400 views. So it was like, it wasn't much. And I haven't really posted on Instagram, and I didn't really post on Facebook at all. I mean, I post on my personal page, but I started posting on my personal page after I hit 1,000, because I didn't want people from my personal life following me and being like, oh, she's weird, she only has 500 people. Like, I was really self-conscious about it. What the TikTok video is just making, actually, it's I love Chipotle. I love Chipotle, and David Dobrik and Chipotle partnered up to like sponsor 3 people. And me and my stream always joke about how awesome it'd be for me to be sponsored by Chipotle. And so I was making the video to send out to Chipotle and try and get sponsored. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? People find the video, they find it amusing.
I'll admit I had never even considered reaching out to Chipotle, and now it's my life goal.
It's like literally, I was trying to look back the streams to figure out how many streams I've eaten in, but someone in my chat has kept tally of how many of my streams I've eaten Chipotle in. And I think they said it's over like 40. And like, that's really bad. But it's like, when I'm coming home from my 13-hour shifts, I hate cooking when I get home from work, and I don't want to grab fast food because fast food's bad for you. But Chipotle's not that bad for you. It's just rice and steak and chicken. That's all.
Right. And a lot of salt.
Yeah. We don't talk about that though.
Okay. So you're still a fairly new streamer, but I would like to ask, you have been doing it for a few months, and I'm sure along the way you've kind of learned this or that or what not to do here and there. What do you wish you had known when you very first started out?
I wish I had known not to get discouraged by viewer counts. I learned about it from a few other streamers, and they said, don't get like, one of the bigger ones was Ninja. He posted a tweet about saying, don't look at your viewers. You're not there to worry about how many people you have watching. You're worried about entertaining the people that are watching. And it's still actually one of my issues today is if I see my viewers drop, and I'm kind of like, oh, like, people didn't want to watch me, but I have to understand, when I first started streaming, kids weren't in school, parents weren't working, and you had all these people that were able to, watch your videos because the lockdown was still going on here and everything. And so it's like, when that lockdown ended, I started seeing my views drop, and I got really, really discouraged. I was like, no one wants to see me. No one wants to watch me. And a lot of people brought to my attention, they're like, Brooke, people are going back to school. Like, they're going back to work. You can't expect them to stay when they're working and going to school. And at that point, I kind of got the mentality where it's like, I don't care who's watching. I don't care how many people are watching. I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk to them no matter what. I'm going to act the same way I would if I had 50 people than if I had one person.
Oh, that's a wonderful attitude to have.
Well, thank you.
I wonder. Absolutely. Okay. Now, Brooke, at this part of the show, I would like to humble you if possible.
Okay.
You've had fantastic success in just a couple months that you've been streaming. That you're a CNA, so you're obviously doing something with your life, and a lot of people are, I'm sure, envious of you because you have something going for you. But I don't want everybody to think that your life is nothing but sunshine and rainbows.
Oh no.
So I believe that we learn more from the failures in our life rather than our successes. It's when you get smacked in the face, you get knocked down, that you have to figure out how to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and learn how to move forward. So I'd like to ask you, what is something that you have failed at in life and what did you learn from it?
So for me, I don't want to say it was my entire high school life, but I dealt with severe depression, anxiety in high school. When I was in 10th grade, I got diagnosed with an eating disorder. I got diagnosed with binge eating. And then in senior year, I got diagnosed with severe depression and severe anxiety that they think I had all throughout high school, but I never really got properly diagnosed. And my biggest thing, I think, is what slapped me is honestly myself. Like, I never had one thing that really hit me in the face or whatnot, but the one thing that did hit me a lot was my depression. I always was up late at night. I was always, thinking, what could I do better? What was wrong with me? And it was honestly detrimental to myself. Like, if anyone was the biggest critic, it was me, because I was always thinking there was something better I could be doing. I always focused really hard on school, but focusing really hard on school, I didn't really have much of a social life. And I had a lot of instances where I had a lot of dark thoughts come across my mind that probably, now that I look back at them, I'm so glad like none of them ever really went through or none of them actually was successful. But at the same point, that was one of the things that was really, really hard for me to understand as I grew older. And by older, I mean these 2 years, is that I was so close to just letting everything go away. And if I let everything go away, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that's why I'm such a big mental health advocate, is because I've seen people succumb to it, and I've seen myself almost succumb to it, and I don't want that to happen to them.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing, and wonderful that you're on this better path now.
Oh yeah, we're good now.
All right, kind of a related question. What is something that you're working to improve on in yourself today?
A lot. I mean, there's always room for improvement, even if you don't know what it is. I would like to think that I'm this perfect person that, is everything's right with them, but we're not. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes. And the mistakes are the good things. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents, which is a quote by Bob Ross, but it's like one of the better quotes I've ever heard in my life, because it's true. I mean, there's so many things I want to improve in my life. If I could improve, my studying, or the fact that I procrastinate every single school subject I have due. But at the same point, I know, I'm going to get it done, and we're just going to work on it.
Okay, fantastic. And one more fun question to kind of wrap this up before we bring it in for a landing. What is something that you think people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you, Brooke?
That's a hard one. I mean, I heard a lot of people come in and they've said in my stream that, I'm cocky, or that, I'm kind of like a know-it-all and stuff like that. And I don't really think I am personally. I just think it's because of the fact I'm always sitting there and I'm talking and I'm sharing stories, which I can definitely see from what people think is like thinking I'm a know-it-all and stuff, because I'm always sharing my own experiences. And a lot of that is because I want people to be able to relate to experiences and realize, they're not the only one that's been through something like that, or like someone has been through something similar like that. And I think a lot of people, when they first can come into my stream and they hear me talking about myself, they're obviously going to think, they're cocky, or they're thinking all of themselves, but that's not the case. And if they stick around and they listen for a little bit longer, they kind of start to see that, they were on the wrong path. But at some point, it's understandable.
All right. Okay, Brooke, this has been a fantastic interview.
Yes,
how do people reach out to you? How do they find you? Where are you at on social media?
So obviously on Facebook, my social media is Bubbly Brooke. Sadly, each social media is different because Bubbly Brooke apparently is a popular name, and I had to figure out multiple usernames to go with it. But on Facebook, it is just Bubbly Brooke TV at the end, but you can typically find me with just Bubbly Brooke. My Instagram is Facebook FB Bubbly Brooke. My Twitter is Bubbly Brooke FB. And then my TikTok is FB Bubbly Brooke. It's like going back and forth, bouncing all along.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Now, as we're wrapping this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share, or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
No, I don't. I think we covered it pretty well, just for people to keep following what they believe in, no matter how stupid people think it is.
That's fantastic. That's the best advice I'm going to hear today. All right, Brooke, thank you so much. I genuinely do appreciate you coming on today.
Of course. I enjoyed it. I feel all famous.
All right. Now for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.